You're listening to the Our Erie podcast with DaVona Pacley,
Marty Nwachukwu,
and Lydia Laythe.
We're here to highlight community voices and bring new perspectives to the table.
We are unpacking Erie's and America's baggage.
We're speaking truth to power.
Take a seat.
For those of you just joining us, we are having a discussion about cancel culture. Is it real? Where does it come from? How does it affect us? But my understanding was that canceling someone was born out of community organizing and progressive movements to hold harmful developers or business owners or people accountable, like powerful people. So it's not used against everyday folks. I'm not going to quote unquote cancel my friend, but you cancel someone that maybe has anti-LGBTQ policies. So you stop shopping at a store that is homophobic and you tell your friends, hey, stop giving this business money because we don't want to support someone that is homophobic. And so then you would
boycott.
Yeah, boycotting them, right? And so you would cancel that, and then, that I think became targeted at powerful individuals. So then you were canceling certain people that were in maybe held up on pedestals, celebrities or things like that. But then now it's been kind of co-opted by the conservative movement to claim that they're being censored. And so they are equating boycotting with censorship because these private platforms like Facebook or Twitter or just private citizens that don't want to shop or support certain folks are holding them accountable to their problematic beliefs.
For sure. I think the tie between those two things is that I don't remember who it was, but a few years ago, someone probably on Fox News either said something racist or did something racist. And then on Twitter and other social media, people tagged and called out all of their sponsors to remove their sponsorships from these programs. And eventually, losing that kind of funding, the network either let them go or suspended them. And it became a thing where, this works. This person said this thing and it was harmful. Sponsors, remove your sponsorship. So I guess to a certain extent, I can see where it's coming from the conservative side, that they feel like they're being censored.
Mm-hmm.
But what it's kind of not turned into, but I feel like it's broadened beyond, getting sponsors or corporations to remove their support of public individuals to a certain celebrity says this and now everyone's going to unfollow them or stop listening to their music. And then it goes even lower. Maybe there's a certain business in town that said this and that, and now everyone's going to their social media and spamming them. So there's so many levels and gradients of this supposed cancel culture. But I think the thorough line is that somebody did something terrible that affects a marginalized group of people. It becomes public. And then there's some type of accountability. Mm-hmm. That's why I think it's called cancel culture. And I don't think it's it's boycotting. It's accountability. It's all these things that they've just put this name on. And now they're weaponizing it as, don't do this to me. Mm-hmm. So I really get bothered when people are like, you're canceling me. It's like, okay.
I thought cancel culture reminds me a little bit of what is the term? Blackballing, blacklisting. Cancel culture is I don't think it's real. I don't think that
half the time, Bill O'Reilly or some of these people, they just find jobs somewhere else. So if you're still able to sustain yourself and do anything, were you truly canceled?
Mm-mm. No, and that's the whole argument with a lot of these ultra far right conservative people like Marjorie Taylor Greene or all these other ridiculous people. They claim that they're being censored, but then they have countless platforms on really ultra conservative media. They're just mad that certain people aren't allowing them a platform, which as private people, we've talked about that as a podcast. We will only give platforms to people that we believe deserve the platform or have some sort of productive conversation to have. Mm-hmm. We're not just going to let any person on here to talk and have a platform, because that does a disservice to our listeners to just have anyone. Okay. So yeah, I think it's weird. I think the same people that decry cancel culture are also the people that are all for private businesses or people the Second Amendment, their freedoms, but then are upset when other people exercise their private freedoms and their private rights to say, like, I'm not going to allow you in my business, or I'm not going to allow you on this show, or what, like, you can't have it both ways. And I think that sometimes when it doesn't work out for them, a lot of these conservative folks can't like wrap their heads around being held accountable for something that they claim.
Are there instances where people who aren't associated with conservatism or the far right that have been canceled? Like, I know there has been, but I personally can't right now think of situations.
I was thinking just about like locally, and I wouldn't call it cancel culture though. So like, if I feel like we get into this like semantic debate or gray area where, like, for example, there were people that were like calling you and I, Marty, out for like participating in the Jefferson Educational Society stuff. Like they have kind of like their own historical issues, which like I've also talked about to the people in the Jefferson, like, and so because you and I chose to participate in their Civic Leadership Academy, there was like more progressive folks that were saying like, why are you calling us out? And I wouldn't say that any of those people canceled us, but had they taken a step further and said, oh, I'm never talking to you again because you did that, then I think that could have been like maybe an example of like how we sometimes take it too far with private people. And I think that's maybe where I draw the distinction is like, I will never try to like cancel someone I can talk to. You only try to,
but in that moment,
part like community power when it's someone more powerful than you.
Mm-hmm. But it felt some kind of way because I was interested to see this institute, and everything is in from the frame of reference that I've lived here for now 4 years. Mm-hmm. I work in the community and understanding how different players work and why they have certain power and how their programs work. And also, I my opinion is sort of shifting away from this, but I had a strong belief that to change certain things, you have to get into that system and meet the people and get to know them. I could talk about that a different day. But the backlash, not even backlash, it's just people that you think know you, like, why can't you text me or call me that it was just, and it wasn't even, we weren't canceled. It was just interesting to be on the other end of it, where it's like, me, we can talk about why I do certain things, my values. I feel like, I don't know. If you know someone's values and you know who they are, then you should give them, and I guess this is part of the overall issue with quote unquote cancel culture, is like giving people the opportunity to be known, why their intentions on something, if they meant it a certain way, if there's any intention at all behind anything. So I don't know.
It's so crazy because for me, it's a spectrum. Like cancel culture, I can say is not like, oh, it's like, it's dumb. But then I look at like the R. Kelly stuff. When that R. Kelly stuff was happening, he was canceled for me, like completely. I don't listen to R. Kelly's music. I don't watch any R. Kelly old videos. Like I don't, literally when R. Kelly comes, or like if his music comes on, whatever, I turn that shit off. And so like, for me, I guess is like, am I feeding into like the cancel culture? Like, no, it's just more so like, I'm not listening to somebody who literally subjected women to abuse. So like, okay, if you want to call that cancel culture, I guess call it what you want. I'm just not going to, so I guess for me, like, I don't know, like I kind of teeter between like, is it like a necessary thing to, is it a necessary term for me to use? Or like going by the individual situation at hand, like, I don't know. I feel like it's.
With the R. Kelly situation, I remember seeing on Twitter when Harvey Weinstein, like people slowly started coming out against Harvey Weinstein, people saying, well, I hope you treat Weinstein like you treat R. Kelly. Like you're always coming after Black people. And it's like, they're both evil.
Right.
We don't have to we should disassociate ourselves from their creations and making them thrive, but like we don't have to performatively tear them down equally for it to matter. Absolutely. I saw a lot, and it was actually during the whole Me Too movement. And it's still a thing. I'm not saying it's a past tense thing, but whenever a man of color would be found out about sexual assault or other grievances and be held accountable, whenever a white man would be found out about it, people were like, oh, I hope you hold him the same level accountability. It's like, what are you talking? They're all evil. Don't make it seem like because he is white, somehow R. Kelly's situation was not just as horrendous. You know, I sometimes that I don't even know what to call that instance, but that played into things too, like the racial dynamics of wanting everyone to be torn down.
That's kind of how I feel when we talk about like the criminal legal system too, is like when people get like when white people get charged for things and they're like, well, I hope they get sent to the, you know, electric chair. I hope they get sentenced with life. And I'm like, neither are really good. Like we shouldn't be there is a racist, we do have a racist criminal legal system that disproportionately affects Black and brown bodies and sends them away to prison for far longer than their white peers, or sends them to death far more than their white peers. That doesn't mean that the solution is to hurt the white operators in those systems as much. It means we need to humanize the entire system. So like, I think that that's part of the problem is this whole like an eye for an eye type mentality, is like, you've hurt us this much, so now you need to hurt this much. Whereas like, can we grow together and say, yeah, this shouldn't have happened. This was wrong. Maybe we didn't handle it the right way, or maybe we should have done this differently. And like, now we're going to evolve, and it might not get the same treatment because every situation is different and our understanding is evolving. But like, it doesn't mean that what happened like was not equally as bad or equally as problematic.
It was like, not to say this is equal, but whenever they hold any kind of officer accountable for shooting down a citizen, or I can't think of the situation that just triggered it in my mind, but we're not asking for police accountability that, you know, whenever you see a white person, you shoot them the same. We're asking that no one gets shot, you know? Right. And I think that's often missed by conservative Dems and conservative Republicans, is they feel like we're just trying to, you know, have everyone treated poorly.
Right. It's like a false dichotomy. And that's the kind of philosophical and like logic games that some of these people play with these issues, which is the same idea that we're talking about with cancel culture, is like they create this false dichotomy where it's like you're either canceled or you're not, and you're either like free or you're not to speak your mind, and any infringement on that is like unfair or American, but like that's a false dichotomy. Like there is gray area within that. It's not black and white. It's not all or nothing. So I think when it's a very powerful tactic to almost like shift the field, right? Like if we're operating in a bigger landscape where we have a lot of different options, then we have to have complex conversations. And I, as the controller of whatever, I can't control as much if the field is so broad. But if I change the conversation and say, well, our only options are like this area, then it's easier for me to control. It's easier for me to manage. And it's easier for me to maybe try to convince you that one option is better than the other, as opposed to if we have like 20 different options. So I think it's a tactic by people in positions of power to shift the entire conversation so that we can't even acknowledge all the options that exist. And we just narrow it completely so that people in power can still maintain their power, but like seem like they're having this debate, if that makes sense.
It's so complex because I feel like I even think about the situation that I don't watch American Idol, but I saw my news feed that I think his name was Caleb, and he just recently left American Idol, and he's from Spartanburg. I think Spartanburg, PA. Is Spartanburg in PA?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a few, but
literally just left American Idol because apparently, this is not even apparently, it happened. When he was 12 years old, he took a picture. It was a family photo, or either a family photo. I need to actually find it. Either a family photo or a picture.
Don't tell me he did blackface.
No, he had a hood on, a Ku Klux Klan hood on. And he was 12 though. And apparently his family said it was a video when he was 12. It was recorded. And he was saying, and the family was saying that it was from a movie, like he was mimicking something from a movie. And it's just like he decided to leave. And my thing was like, okay, dude, one, you were 12. You did it. Obviously, it was wrong. It's wrong all over. It's, right. Obviously it's wrong. But like when you're 12, You were 12. Okay, now you're grown. Instead of leaving the show, why would you not just say, you know what? It was wrong. I was 12 years old. I did not know this, blah, 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 blah. I've grown from them from here, and I would love to stay on the show and whatever. Like, I just feel like leaving the show is like, it was a really bad move. Leaving the show was a very bad move because I feel like stand firm in your decision to do that as a kid and stand behind it and then say you've moved on. Like, I don't know how hard it is for people to do that, but it seems to be hard for people to stand by the shit that they did in the past. Like,
accountability is hard. That's why
like,
people claim
hard
culture, right? It's like they can't handle being accountable. I think of like on The Bachelorette, like Chris Harrison left the final, like the most recent season, because he was getting some backlash for like a racially insensitive comment he had made. And rather than finishing out the season with like one more episode and standing in that and kind of embracing that, like he decided to have some other guy do the last episode. Like, why just stand in? Yeah, like you said, I think there's a space for humility and accountability,
right?
And to me personally, I am so much more comfortable in being humble and accountable than I am in running from, like, because then that stuff like follows you. It doesn't go away.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
I might be part of the problem because I feel like maybe not in a situation with the American Idol person who was 12, but if you're 32 and we catch you saying that, and there's a situation a few weeks ago or maybe last month, like there was a basketball game with high schoolers and the high schoolers kneeled and the moderator called them like the N-word and was talking about
I saw
hair.
that.
Yeah. So, and then he was like, I'm sorry, my diabetes was acting up.
What? So diabetes is not, y'all, diabetes is not correlated to racism.
No.
I ain't think that like at all.
Neither is alcoholism, guys. I'm so sick of people saying, I was drunk.
But I mean, even remove alcoholism or diabetes as the excuse.
Right.
At a certain age, when people make those, I don't even call it mistakes. When you do something like that and then you apologize,
accidental.
I don't believe you.
No.
You know,
No.
unless there's some people who I can't think of instances. There's some situations where it's like this person is genuine, but that's rare. So I kind of not understand people leaving, but like if you were to apologize and I'm not going to buy it, then you might be worse off, you know?
Yeah,
I might
really
be
sorry.
Maybe that's me.
Right. No, for sure.
It's
if
crazy.
you're not really
Like, don't give me a false apology. Don't waste everyone's time and mental.
right. Yeah, if you don't want to change, then it's probably easier to walk away and then just not have any of the conversation.
And recognize that.
Right.
Because a lot of these people are just trying to save their asses.
Yeah. Oh,
if you're 40 years old making these mistakes in America with our, please, you know what you're doing. I don't have the patience for it. I really don't.
Yeah, that's when I was working with men convicted of sexual offenses as a therapist, that was one of the biggest distinctions we made in therapy was like, there's a difference between mistakes and bad decisions. Your sexual offense was not a mistake. You made that decision. It was a bad decision and you can be sorry about it. You can have regret. You can have shame. You can have guilt. You can want to be better. You can recognize that it was wrong and it will be something you never do again, but it was not a mistake. It was a bad decision. Because when we say mistake, it absolves us of all our accountability. It was an accident. A mistake is putting salt in your coffee when you meant to put sugar. That's an accident. That's a mistake, right? A mistake is turning down the wrong road. Like those are like unintentional, like small level. But like when you make a decision and it hurts someone, that's a bad decision.
Yes.
I think we need
from Lydia. Stop saying mistake.
Yeah. For anyone,
it's your decision.
No, but it's so important. Right? Like language is so important. People like.
Yeah.
And I think this is the other thing that a lot of people from privileged positions, whatever that looks like, whether that's men or white people or able-bodied people or people from a certain like upper class, that like people get frustrated when you say, please change the way you're speaking about this issue because your words are hurtful. And they don't understand how words can be so powerful, especially when you hear these hurtful words day in and day out, or when these words have been like codified and like legitimized in systemic policies that affect us on a daily basis. Like when words create the like frameworks of your life that keep you boxed into a life that you don't want to be in anymore, and you want to like break free of it. Like words are so powerful, and words are like the realities we construct for ourselves and for other people. So like we have to change our words if we want to change anything else around us.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my 2 cents on that. I've been eating a lot of candy today, so
I don't even know. I feel like our culture is shifting. Marginalized people we have more platforms to say how we feel about things. We have more power to connect with the...
Oh, did Marty freeze?
Did she freeze? I just heard you chomp on your
either blown up.
Okay, sorry,
Did
Marty,
I
you
freeze?
froze for a second. Yeah.
You froze for a second.
Never mind.
No. Go back. So you said, I forget what you were just about to say. It was like right when you paused.
Oh, I don't remember now.
Dang.
I was just saying, it can bite the other way, that sometimes when something comes out, people make it bigger than what it may have originally been.
Yes.
And the payback will be bigger. And when someone is punished, it's hard to come back from that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's rarer. I feel like the problem or the term cancel culture refers to people who are actually held accountable for real things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, well, and I think we also haven't seen good examples of people being humble and accountable to their action. So again, going back to when I worked with men convicted of sexual offenses, because they would have thinking errors, or they would say sexist stuff. And our conversation in group therapy, when I was in a room of like 8 30 to 60-year-old men who had been in prison, our conversation was, okay, you have one opportunity to do it right when you do it or say it the first time. You have a second opportunity to fix it when we hold you accountable to it. So that second opportunity is just as important as your first one. You can say the wrong thing the first time, but if I say, hey, that was sexist, that wasn't appropriate, here's why. If your reaction is, no, it wasn't, I didn't mean that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, that's 2 strikes. But if your response is, you know what, you're right, I hadn't thought about that. I'm sorry, I'm going to work on fixing whatever that was, then you're good. Then it's not the end of the world. But if you keep having these second chances, and you keep just staying rooted in your problematic beliefs or your sexist, harmful beliefs, then there's not much we can do about that. But we always have second, third, fourth opportunities to shift and to say, okay, yeah, maybe I didn't get it right that time. We always have more opportunities. And I think we don't get examples of that with people in positions of power. We don't see that happen very often. So we think that, when this happens, it's impossible for people to jump, to bounce back from it. But it's because we only see shitty people get into trouble, and then they don't take accountability. They don't take responsibility for it. So yeah, they can't bounce back from it. Cause like you said, we all know when it's not authentic. We all know when they're just faking an apology. You can't bounce back when you're not really sorry for what you did or said.
That's facts. That's facts.
Yeah, I can't think of big people doing it. Everyday people, we all run into each other and hurt each other, but we apologize and we grow. But I can't think of public examples of someone who did it really well. I know there's someone in my mind that's tickling me. I can't pull them out. That's sad though.
I know, right? I mean, even in personal life, I'm sure we can all think of those people that we don't bring up when they hurt us because we know that they're not going to respond well. I can think of a handful of people that it's I just don't even bring it up, because I know if I bring it up, they're gonna make excuses, or they're gonna blame me for it, or they're gonna turn around and blame it on something else, and it's not gonna feel good, and it's not gonna get resolved, so you don't bring it up. And then there's other people that you can say stuff to, right? You can go to them and say, hey, this really hurt, and they're going to respond well, and those people are safe. I know for me, Buster's been that person for me, since the beginning. Is I can say something and he's right. His ego never gets in the way of him being oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I never meant to hurt you or say something to offend or anything. He's right there. I think those people are so important to have in your life. And if you don't have someone like that,
Facts.
Find them, find us, talk to us.
And if you're surrounded by the former people who make you feel small or ridiculous, you need to maybe let those people go.
Okay. For real.
Seriously. And I don't think we realize that there's other options out there. I know I didn't sometimes. I love my dad. One of his downfalls was not being able to always be accountable. I mean, he could sometimes, but there was times where he just couldn't. And so if you grow up in spaces where you don't see it modeled for you, it's really hard to develop that skill in yourself because you don't see how it's done. You don't have a good example for that. So I also like, for people going through it, like, it's hard to be accountable. It's hard to make good apologies and make authentic apologies if you've never seen it modeled for you. So that's also something I think that like we could give people the space for and say like, okay, I can see that you're struggling with this apology, but like if you're coming from an authentic place, like let's work through this together, because many of us probably haven't had good examples of people being humble and authentic.
Yeah, it was good. I'm sitting here like, I never thought about it. And then
I've never thought about that.
And then it's making me think again, that inner child work. I'm going to go like think about if that has had like, where was that modeled? Was that modeled for me? Like the accountability, because I know coming from, and I don't want to again broad brush being Black, but I minimally when we see our parents apologize or take their selves accountable for their actions, which I'm still at this point, I would say, working through. And so that's something that I know, like even within our relationship with me and Angel, like that was something that I struggled with, is like acknowledging when I hurt that person, and not that I'm a bad person or not that I'm like not empathetic and all those things, but there's just certain things that I did struggle with as saying, oh my God, like I didn't even see that as a problem, and not having the language. I think that the thing is like what you're talking about, Lydia, is just having the language of knowing how to, and not even just knowing how to say it, but genuinely being like, oh my God, like I did not see that as an issue. And I'm going to work on that. I'm not perfect, but I'm going to work on that. Right. And I just feel like that's something that again has to be taught, something that you have to, it's not like it's just going to come to mind. Like, you know, like, oh yeah, let me hold myself accountable. Like that's, like you said, that's definitely something that, over my years of growth is something I'm still I think that's something that you can never really grow out of. Like that's something you just kind of grow into being. But I mean, not grow, you know,
work, right?
Yeah, like I was gonna say that's constant. Yeah, constant work. And constant work. That's all I have to say.
Right. No, and I think it goes back to that, like the idea of false dichotomies too. Like, and again, I don't know why I feel like I'm like being called back to like all the times when I was the therapist to these guys, but like we also talked about how we're always told that like if you've done a bad thing, you're a bad person, and you're either a good person that does nothing wrong or you're a bad person that's done bad things. It's not that simple. You can have done terrible, horrible things, and you can have hurt countless people. But if you decide today to make a change and change your life and change the way you view yourself and the world and people around you, like you can still be a good person and have done bad things in your past. And I think it hurts ourselves. It hurts our communities. Like it does not make us better communities or safer communities to say, oh, all these people are terrible, horrible, evil monsters, and these people are good. Because at the end of the day, none of us are perfect. None of us have never hurt. So like we've all hurt someone to varying degrees with varying intention, but like we've all hurt someone in our lives, and we can make excuses for ourselves, or we can say, you know what? We all make mistakes. We all make bad decisions. And we're going to try to learn from those and grow from that and work together to help us all be better, safer human beings, not just, you know, cordon people like and warehouse the people that we don't want to have to work with. Because that's what we do with mass incarceration, right? Is like we take all the people and we're like, oh, I don't want to have to deal with you because you're, you know, doing something I don't agree with, or you're trying to disrupt the systems and like the status quo. So therefore, like, let's like lock you up. Like that doesn't help anyone.
We're not a forgiving society.
Oh my God, I was literally thinking the same thing. And then I was also thinking about like this whole, I don't know, like I know that as a society, we're kind of now talking more and more about mental health, right? And seeking therapy. And, you know, if somebody's toxic, then make sure you stay away from them, right? And so like, I really feel like this might be a little bit unpopular opinion. This is a small unpopular opinion. Obviously, you don't want to be around toxic people, people that drain you, people that, you know, that when you're around them, they just don't make you feel, you know, like a whole person. I get that. But there has been, what I also see on social media a lot is, it's like people are expendable now. You know, it's like, oh, well, if that person is, you know, not doing, I guess, what they're doing for you, then leave them to the, you know, to the dust. And I have like a very I guess for me, like I'm trying to figure out like what's that balance, right? Like obviously don't be around somebody who's completely negative all the time, right? Or toxic, but there's reasons for that. There's reasons for why that person is the way that they are. And I feel like it kind of goes with the cancel culture of like, staying away from toxic people. I don't care if it's your family. It could be your mom, your dad. And it's like, let's not generalize that, because I get not being around a toxic family member or a parent or whatever. That's fair. But through my journey of growing and really healing parts of myself that struggled with my relationship with my parents, I really felt like it's not healthy to say, well, I'm just going to cancel out and just not talk to them anymore. That's not fair, because I feel like I am an extension of them, and that's different for me. And I feel like we can grow, we can learn together. But I can understand if it's just somebody you just met 2 days ago or a year ago. I mean, even that. But I just think that, like you said, Marty, like the whole the lack of forgiveness that we have for people that are supposed to be our family, people that are supposed to be our friends, people that we love. It's like nowadays, it's like people are like, well, if they're not doing for me, I'm just gonna like, yeah. And it's like, what is happening? That I don't think that's supposed to be what we're like. That's not even what therapists are even telling you. They're just like, what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I have like a problem with that. Like,
it's a balance. I didn't think about that. I think there are certain situations where like this person's literally harming you. You should not be in association with them. But other people, like, they're irritating. They're always nagging things, Right. Maybe that's someone you just work with and try to. I get it, because there's working relationships like that. It's different when it's personal, though. I don't know.
It is like, but I don't know. I just see like this whole on like when I'm on social media, people are just like, yeah, leave him be. It's just like, I don't know. Like, I feel like there has to be a healthy balance, like you had said. And like I'm trying to say is just, I don't know. People just take something and run with it. Well,
and there's a difference between cutting all ties and having boundaries. And I think that's another thing that people are not taught, because we're not modeled. We're not shown how to set boundaries. In fact, a lot of us, I'm sure, have been taught to not have boundaries. Like, you do whatever mom and dad say when they ask it, and like you don't have your own, right? Like, so we're not taught to have boundaries in a lot of contexts. And so to develop boundaries feels like all or nothing. Like, either I have to cut ties or I have to stay together with them all the time. Absolutely. Like, you can have boundaries, you can set, and they can be very fluid or very flexible or very like person specific. Like, with this person, I don't do XYZ, or I only have this much contact. Like, you can have boundaries, and that's okay, and that's healthy. Like, it's healthy to have boundaries with people. And I also think the one thing I was thinking about too is like, social media is not real life. So like, you can cut people off from your social media and still be okay to see them in real. Like, so I know for myself, like, there's been certain people that my boundary with them is I will still see them and communicate with them in person, but their social media presence is so harmful, is so negative, is so like anti Black Lives Matter, and so like anti all the things that I believe in, that like, I know it's agitating to me to see all the the shit that they post, and I'm like, you know what, I don't need to see that, so I'm gonna block them on social media. I don't block them I still see them frequently in real life, but I just don't need to see their stuff on Facebook. And quite frankly, I don't need them to see my stuff on Facebook, like, because that probably is agitating them, and I don't really need them to be like in my personal So I think we have become conditioned to believe that social media is a reflection of real life, and it's not. So if you have boundaries on your social media and you say I'm deleting all these friends or I'm blocking all these people, like, that's also okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. But I think there needs to be some thought there. It needs to be like, what's my boundary, and really like, how am I setting these boundaries intentionally, and not just saying like, yeah, you said one thing that annoyed me and now I'm blocking you forever.
Yeah. I love that. Because I think that's part of the problem with social media, is that it feels like I'm seeing all these streams of thought that I don't agree with. So therefore, it's a reflection of your whole being. And therefore, I don't want to know you. And when you delete that person, it's like, I don't want to have to deal with. And maybe there are some people who it actually is in real life, you also don't want to know them. Right. But that's not always the case. I needed to hear that, I think.
Yeah. I go through this weird phase of like Facebook. Like, every now and then I'll have this like, why are half these people my friends on here? Like, if I would I let them in my house, or like, and if I'm letting them into my Facebook, would I let them into my home? Like, I get to that depth, and then I'm like, DaVona, it's Facebook, right? So then I just think, okay, it's Facebook. I can control this room. I can control my Facebook. But I have these moments where I'm just like, why am I even here? I don't. But again, that's
why I took Messenger off my phone years ago. It's like, if you don't have my number, I probably don't want you having access to me at all times.
Right.
That's my boundary. Social media lives on the computer.
Yes.
It's powerful though, right? Yeah. No, I did the same thing, I think a year and a half or two, like around when like COVID started, and I was like always plugged in. I had to turn off notifications on my phone. Like if I want to find out who's trying to get a hold of me on Facebook, I'll open it, but I don't need to see that there's like pings and 3 unread. Like, no, Facebook is not, it's not work. It's not my like you said, like if someone needs to get a hold of me and I have a connection to them, they will have my phone number. They will be able to call or text me and I will see that. I don't need to be knowing that like 12 people are trying to get a hold of you on Facebook or that like, no, I don't. And most of the time it's like my one aunt that's liking all my photos anyway. So it's one person and then I get my hopes up that I'm popular and I'm never. So, I mean, it's fine. It's probably better for my mental health.
But just imagine, that's not see how those celebrities be feeling. Like they like turn their comments off or they're like, you know, like they're like, listen, I ain't got time. Just imagine being a celebrity. Like
that's why some of them give themselves in trouble responding to people. It's like, no, you're famous.
I would
do
like,
that.
listen.
Not even big celebrity, but like sometimes Ryan Bizarro replies to comments and I really don't think he should.
Him, I saw Dan Laughlin do that same thing.
Oh my God.
Some of them El Drinko de Deo. I was like,
just leave it.
Yeah.
Screenshots exist, people. You've been listening to the Our Erie podcast.
Community voices unpacking Erie's baggage and speaking truth to power.
You can continue the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Our Erie Series.
Funding provided by United Way of Erie and Ember+Forge.
Music produced by Light Shadow.
We appreciate you for listening to the Our Erie podcast. Until next time, take care of yourself.
Keep fighting the good fight.
Peace.